on July 15th, 7:05 p.m. Um, Jonathan, can we save the approval of the minutes for next week? Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's fine. You still need to approve your agenda, though.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve today's agenda? Yes, Nico?
The bylaw change that's on the agenda is the same bylaw change twice.
Tell me.
Diego, did you send me two, or those are the two links I have from you? Did you send me the same one twice, or did you send me?
I shared you with you the ISR and the TSR one, I believe, independently. So can you check?
Yeah, let me check my email real quick.
I just dropped it in the chat, and the ISR is that one, and then the TSR is this one.
The link has been updated.
Tommy, can you start the live, please?
The live has been started.
Got it. Then can someone motion to approve the agenda today, please?
I motion to approve the USAC agenda for July 14th, 2025.
15.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I motion to approve the USAC agenda for July 15th, 2025.
Second.
Nico motions, Sherry seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All abstaining with a vote to, I believe that was 8-0. Our agenda for July 15 is approved. Is there anyone here today for public comments? Yes. Michaela? Tommy, can you please set the 2-minute timer?
Yeah, 1 second. Eek. Timer. 2. All right. Share. Share. Okay.
Whenever you're ready, Michaela, you can. Oh, actually, no, I think it's Jazzy. Jazzy,
I,
whenever.
I promoted Michaela.
Okay, Michaela. Okay, sorry about that. Michaela, whenever you're ready, you can start your 2-minute public comment.
Hi, can you hear me all right?
We can barely hear you.
Oh, hold on. Give me a second. Is that better?
Yes.
Beautiful. All right. Good evening, council members. My name is Micaela Cabeber Mika, a rising fourth year, and I'm here on behalf of Sabang Filipino as the outgoing external VP, as well as past retention coordinator and CRC chairperson. I'm here today to raise urgent concerns about UCLA's recent actions that threaten the integrity of student-led, student-initiated programs that have served marginalized communities for decades. Having served within these positions, I intimately understand the importance of the CRC and SIOC to remain in institutions like UCLA and have experienced firsthand the significance of its committee structure and operation in relation to the communities it serves. A phrase we hear is that this institution was not made for our bodies, referring to the lack of culturally competent resources, all on top of systemic barriers that many marginalized groups face in higher education. In response, we emphasize that our services were created by students for students, because we know our community's conditions best. The current structure of the committees ensures that this ideal still rings true when it comes down to the allocation of funding for each project and allows each community to present their student trends and objectives in order to best advocate for their needs. While I introduced myself earlier as a student leader, I'm also here as a service recipient of the very projects that are impacted by the university's actions. To be quite frank, I wouldn't be here right now if it weren't for my first peer counseling session in the fall of my first year. I've seen and continue to see the impact that these projects have, not only within the Filipinx community on and off this campus, but also within the 6 other communities under these committees. With that being said, we demand that our project directors' contracts are extended and that UCLA respects the current governance structure of the CRC/SIOC. Student-initiated programs are not expendable line items. They are foundational to student success and have decades done the work that the university claims to champion: access, equity, and community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Do we have another student? Do we have any other students here for public comment today? If so, please raise your hand. Zoom hand. Yes, Jazzy. Whenever you're ready, you can start your 2-minute public comment.
Okay, can you hear me all right?
Yes,
Okay.
you're all good.
Okay, thank you. All right. Good evening, Council. My name is Jazzy Bermejo, and I'm a rising 4th year here on behalf of Samahang Filipino as the outgoing president alongside the Campus Retention Committee as its interim chairperson. I'm here today to confront the recent developments surrounding the CRC and the SIOCs, and the SIOC. For years, UCLA has boasted its status as a #1 public university, but don't let that make you forget the systemic ignorance upon which it's built. When we remember this, let me ask you, what happens when a Filipino student is at high risk for dropping out? What happens when a Black student has been systemically burdened with a lack of resources on the journey to higher education? What happens when a Latino student struggles through financial insecurity on top of their given responsibilities as a student? What resources does UCLA have readily available to address these issues? These are questions that the CRC and SIOC have historically answered. Since their founding, both the CRC and SIOC have acted as a space for students of color to take ownership of their higher education in the midst of an institution that wasn't made for bodies like ours. Initiated, run, and led by students, various projects have made leaps and bounds in improving their retention and access. Prior to Spear's founding, the retention project emphasizing services to Filipino students, the 4-year graduation rate for Filipinos was 16%, and this percentage has since grown by over 500% to over 80% total. How is it that these student-run, student-led projects are creating these numbers when UCLA itself has failed to do so? Not only do they give students the capacity to realize the unique needs of themselves and their community, they also grant them the capacity to establish, organize, and implement culturally relevant resources. Finally, a system that is both cognizant of the distinct, pervasive, and often intersectional barriers faced by students of color, and it also provides the means to combat that is finally fostered. To put it simply, the CRC and the SIOC flip the chronic reality faced by students of color from systemic barriers to higher education to systemic support within it. Within the last month, UCLA administration has been working to entirely restructure these committees, ultimately threatening the historic wins and progress fought for by those before us. With that being said, on behalf of those within the Mother Org Coalition and their respective projects, we demand that the current project directors being laid off have their contracts extended and that UCLA also respects the current governance structure of the CRC and SIOC. Thank you.
Thank you. Blaine, whenever you're ready, please start your 2-minute public comment.
For her comment as well. I just wanted to give a background as to how these projects, the CRC itself, helped me individually in my caseload that I serve as well. So I stand before you today not just as a UCLA student, but as living proof of the transformative power of our campus retention student-initiated project. These programs didn't help me just stay in school, they fundamentally changed the trajectory of my academic journey in my life. When I first arrived at UCLA, I was overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude navigating a research university. Like many first-generation students and underrepresented students, I didn't know where to turn for guidance beyond the basic orientation. I was stuck on track for a 5-year graduation timeline, struggling to understand degree requirements, course sequencing, and a myriad of resources available on our fast campus. The Campus Retention Student Initiator Project became my lifeline. Through peer mentorship, targeted academic support, and culturally responsive programming, these initiatives provide me with the information and resources that I would have never had access to otherwise. Student leaders who look like me, who shared similar backgrounds and challenges, guided me through academic planning strategies that ultimately compressed my timeline from 5 years to 4 years, saving me both time and significant financial burden. But my story is not unique. These programs serve hundreds of students each quarter, creating a network of support that extends far beyond individual academic successes. I have witnessed firsthand how these initiatives have helped students navigate academic probation, connect with faculty mentors, access emergency funding, and develop the confidence to pursue research opportunities and leadership roles. The impact on retention rates speaks for itself. Students who engage with these programs are staying at UCLA at higher rates, and perhaps more importantly, they are thriving. I've seen peers who were considering leaving university finding their footing through these programs. I've watched students who were dismissed for academic reasons successfully petition for readmission with support and advocacy these programs provide. It's essential that these retention programs stay at UCLA. They not only promote education, but also retention. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have anyone else here today for public comment? Yes, Joshua, whenever you're ready.
Hello, my name is Josh Satoy. I'm an incoming third year, and I'm the outgoing CRC chair and outgoing SP retention coordinator. Currently, I now serve as a peer counselor for the Project Spear, and I just want to speak on my experiences with CRC and student affairs and the recent mismanaging and disregard for student-led spaces. Over the past month, student affairs has essentially dumped on us their plans to essentially dissolve our committee, fire our PDs, and open up our funding source to all affinity groups, whatever that means in their definition. This means essentially disregarding the history and the care and the work the students have put in for years on end, and disregard for our student governance. I've seen personally how Sphere and the CRC and the projects have transformed my experience of being a student, but not just that, also into my experience as a professional, informing so many aspects of the care I want to give in my future healthcare career. I urge y'all to work with us in keeping the project directors or extending their contracts and respecting the governance structure of the CRC as of currently. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any other students interested in giving public comment today? If not, we can close public comment. With that said, I close public comment today at 7:18 p.m. I think we forgot to strike funding. Um, is it okay if we just strike it? Jonathan or Lorelai?
We can just go through and skip each or table them.
Okay. I think it's best if we table them for this week. And then I don't believe we have a presentation today, right, Tommy?
No presentations on.
Okay, great. And then for officer reports, it'll just be the executives for today. I have no update. Please check my written report. Tommy,
All written.
Sherry,
All written.
and then Chris.
All written here as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Now we can move forward with our new business, which is from Tommy, a question for UC President Michael Drake. Tommy, if you want to just introduce it, cover it briefly.
Yeah, basically the letter is just addressing kind of the memo President Drake put out regarding the ban against boycotting countries, as he phrased it. So it's kind of just overarching, kind of sums up kind of our dissatisfaction with it and how it kind of, the whole thing of banning kind of goes against the values that the UC has claimed historically to support and loves to tout that it's the birthplace of the free speech movement. And yet we are currently taking steps to limit free speech on our campuses. So yeah, so that's kind of our response letter to that. And yeah, it basically just directly addresses Drake. At the end, we basically just assert that we, as UCLA student government, we know that I can just read a little bit. So student governments do not exist to serve donors, legislators, or university executives. We are autonomous bodies elected to represent students, to speak with conviction, to act with integrity, and to advocate without fear of retaliation. And so the question we pose today is not about our role, it's about yours. President Drake, does the University of California still see itself as a space for critical inquiry and democratic engagement, or has it chosen to become something else? This policy represents a clear case of prior restraint. It blocks students from engaging in lawful political action before it can occur. It exerts institutional pressure to mute dissent in order to avoid reputational or financial consequences. It is a dangerous precedent, and it risks turning a public university into a site of managed speech rather than free thought. If the University of California wishes to remain a legitimate space for civic education and ethical leadership, it must rescind this policy. It cannot simultaneously encourage student involvement and penalize its most meaningful expressions. It cannot teach civil rights history while denying students access to the very tools those movements used. We will continue to act, not out of defiance, but because the responsibility is clear. The purpose of student government is not to validate authority, but to question it, not to appease power, but to engage it. Our duty is to the students and the principles that animate public education: democracy, justice, and truth. We know who we are. The question is, do you, President Drake, know what the University of California is? And yeah.
Thank you, Tommy. I think since this is a letter being voted on by council, you can remove the names, since it's going to be coming from the entire council. Thank you. Are there any questions for Tommy? Yes, Kea?
No, I don't have a question. My raise hand feature is just glitched.
You're good. Anyone else? Final call. If not, we can motion for a vote. Is there a motion?
I motion to approve the letter, a question for UC President Michael Drake.
Is there a second?
I second.
Sorry, my thing was covering. Who was that?
Harem.
Okay. Tommy's motions are seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. Please, I'm sorry. All against, please raise your hands. All abstaining. With a vote of 11 to 0, that is approved. Thank you, Tommy. We will now be moving on to our bylaws. I can cover both of them really quickly since they're essentially the same. Both bylaw changes are to add appointments to our international student representatives and transfer student representatives. The reason behind this is, as you all know, Student Affairs is questioning the structure currently for the Campus Retention Committee and the Student Initiated Outreach Committee. And we offered to provide more USAC appointments, specifically from those communities, TSR and ISR, to broaden the scope for applicants and to make it more democratic, essentially, and give USAC that role of providing support from these communities. And so we discussed that with Student Affairs, and the reason we put this up for our emergency meeting, just because, as you know, bylaws take 2 weeks or 2 council meetings, one to be viewed and then another to be approved. And these restructurings of these committees have been given a timeline by the end of summer. And so for the sake of our timeline, we decided to move it forward for this council meeting. It won't be voted on this week. It will be voted on, I believe, next week. So those are just there for you all to view. And so they would add an appointment for TSR and ISR both to the Campus Retention Committee and the Student Initiated Outreach Committee. Are there any questions? If there are none, we will move on to our resolution from Sherry. Sherry, whenever you're ready, you can feel free to cover as much as you like. And if you like, provide a little bit of context as well, since we have some folks in our attendees, and I think we have one of the new members of our ASU City Board of Director.
Yeah, for sure. So this resolution is a resolution condemning the governance changes or the admin's request for governance changes and their cutting of project director contracts to those in the CRC and SIOC, which stands for Campus Retention Committee and Student Initiated Outreach Committee. I will just read it all the way through. Whereas in 1988, the Campus Retention Committee was established by the signing of the first Statement of Understanding between USAC, the UCLA Chancellor, Student Affairs, and the Vice Chancellor of Student and Campus Life, funded by withheld special education membership fee monies. Whereas as a result of the Proposition 209 and the UC Region Standing Policy 1 and Standing Policy 2, which reshaped the admissions process at the UCs, the Student Initiated Outreach Committee, SIOC, was established through the passage of the CARE referendum by students in 1999. Whereas on 6 separate occasions in 1990, the service referendum, 1993, the academic success referendum, 1999, the CARE referendum, 2004, the PULSE referendum, 2009, the pledge referendum, and 2016, the social justice referendum, the student body has voted to increase funding for the Campus Retention Committee and the Student Initiated Outreach Committee. Whereas based on approved student fee referenda, the Student Initiated Outreach Committee budget for the 2025-2026 academic year is expected to be $1,513,000 and $1,513,303 and 67 cents. Whereas based upon approved student fee referendum, the Campus Retention Committee budget for the 2025-2026 academic year is estimated to be $1,518,232.88. Whereas the Campus Retention Committee currently consists of 7 projects: Academic Supports Program, ASP, Improving, Nurturing, Sustaining, and Preserving Innovative Retention and Education, INSPIRE, Samahang Filipino Education and Retention, SPEAR, Students Organizing and Nourishing Academic Retention, SONYAR, Retention of American Indians Now, RAIN, Southeast Asian Campus Learning, Education and Retention, CCLEAR, and Writing Success Program, WSP. Whereas the Student Initiated Outreach Committee currently consists of 7 projects: American Indian Recruitment, AIR, Higher Opportunity Program for Education, HOPE, Mentors for Academic Peer Support, MAPS, Pathway to Inspire, Educate, and Retain Peer, Supporting Empowerment Through Mentorship and Inspiring Latino Liberation and Aspirations, SAMIA, Samahang Filipino Advancing Community Empowerment Space, and Students Heightening Academic Performance Through Education, SHAPE. Whereas the Samahang Filipino Education and Retention Outreach Program was formed in 1988 when the 4-year graduation rate for Filipinx students was 16%. As of 2025, the graduation rate has increased to over 80%, demonstrating the effectiveness of student-initiated retention efforts. Whereas the project directors of student-initiated access and retention programs provide crucial and invaluable programmatic oversight, administrative direction, and management to ensure success and productivity of the projects. Whereas projects operating without a project director experience significant changes in effectiveness, SHAPE had operated without a project director for more than 2.5 years, and as a result, reported their lack of ability to secure affiliation agreements with sites, preventing them from offering their resources and services to students as reported in their 2023-2024 end-of-year evaluation. In SPEAR's 2023-2024 end-of-year evaluation, it was reported that 50% of their staff faced retention issues manifesting as time management, accountability issues, and burnout due to the departure of the previous project director, along with a decrease in counseling objective by 100 sessions and cancellation of various programming. Whereas on June 30th, 2025, 5 project directors of the student-initiated retention and access programs under the UCLA Community Programs Office were dismissed from their positions by Student Affairs. Whereas in a July 2nd letter from the Student Affairs Campus Life addressed to program members stated that layoffs were due to federal directives that quote unquote reinterpret diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives as potential non-compliant with anti-discrimination laws. Whereas a key component of the UC 2030 framework is achieving a 90% overall graduation rate and eliminating gaps for Pell, first generation, and underrepresented groups towards which access and retention efforts are crucial. Therefore, let it be resolved, USAC stands in firm solidarity with the mother organizations, the Campus Retention Committee, and the Student-Initiated Outreach Committee in affirming the historical significance and continued impact of the retention projects and student-initiated outreach programs at UCLA. Therefore, let it be resolved, USAC stands with the mother organizations, the Campus Retention Committee, and Student-Initiated Outreach Committee in demanding 1. The immediate extension of project director contracts to the end of the 2025-2026 academic year. 2. Allowance for retention coordinators and access coordinators and their respective hiring committees to independently hire student staff for the upcoming academic year and continuing transitioning of said hired staff. And 3, the immediate reinstatement and initiation of summer payroll for all hired staff, both for the summer and for the 2025-2026 academic year. Therefore, let it be resolved, USAC urges that the governance structures to the Campus Retention Committee and Student-Initiated Outreach Committee remains as intact to their original integrity, preserving their student-initiated, student-run, and student-led model as possible, and that any restructuring to either committee uplifts the representation and decision-making power of historically marginalized student communities at UCLA. Therefore, finally, let it be resolved. The Undergraduate Student Association Council urges administrative offices, including but not limited to the Office of the Chancellor, Student Affairs, and Administrative Policies and Procedures, and the UC Office of the President and UC Board of Regents to protect and champion the Campus Retention Committee and Student-Initiated Outreach Committee's commitment to increase graduation rates of UCLA students and serve educationally disadvantaged communities and populations. So that's the resolution. I think that it's so incredibly important. These committees and the retention, access and retention projects that they fund have been doing really, really important work in the past decades, and they have the data to back it up. Not that that even should be necessary, but I think it's really, really important for USAC to do its part in, kind of calling on administration and the other external stakeholders we work with, whether it's the regents or anyone from UCLA system-wide, to support the existence, the funding, the governance of these programs. So, yeah, would love to see everybody vote yes.
Thank you so much, Sherry. Is there anyone here, council members, that have questions for Sherry? Nobody? If not, we can move on in motion if someone wants to motion for a vote.
Am I allowed to motion? Oh, okay. I motion to pass to vote on. Sorry.
You can say I motion to approve
Okay, sorry. I'm so
and the
sorry about
date and the name of
Okay.
the motion.
I motion to approve the resolution condemning layoffs and governance changes to the Campus Retention Committee and the Student-Initiated Outreach Committee.
I second. Oh,
I'll
I
take,
second.
I'll take JS. Sherry motions, JS seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All abstaining. With a
Wait,
vote,
I didn't get to raise my hand. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm raising my
set
hand.
the vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. please lower your hands. Please, all against, please raise your hands. All abstaining with a vote to 12 to 0 to 0. That resolution is passed. Thank you so much, Sherry. And I think that is the last item on our agenda. With that, I close today's emergency meeting on July 15th at 7:35 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Good night.